He was an innocent man, but because of his skin color, he was branded guilty before the trial even began. The evidence didn't matter. The truth didn't matter. For years, he lived behind bars, silenced by a system built against him. But then, one small detail emerged, a single clue that could change everything. This is the story of Micheal Harris, a man whose life was stolen, whose name was dragged through mud, and who became another victim of a justice system that failed him. Tonight, we uncover the shocking truth behind his wrongful conviction and how a single fingerprint shattered everything prosecutors once claimed. Micheal Harris was born and raised in Chicago's South Side. He was the youngest of 3 children, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. Micheal was described as friendly, hardworking, and deeply family-oriented. He loved basketball, cooked Sunday dinners for his mom, and often stayed late at his job delivering groceries to save up for his dream, owning a small business one day. But on December 12, 2004, everything changed. It was bitterly cold, the kind of night where snow blanketed every sidewalk and street lamp cast long shadows on empty roads. At 10:45 p.m., a call came into the Chicago Police Department. A small corner store on 82nd Street had been robbed. The clerk, 56-year-old Raymond Watts, had been shot and killed during the robbery. Witnesses reported seeing a man run from the scene, black, early 20s, wearing a gray hoodie and black jeans. Minutes later, police canvassed the neighborhood. Just 2 blocks away, Micheal was walking home from work, wearing a gray hoodie. That was enough. They stopped him. No questions. No explanation. He was handcuffed, placed in the back of a squad car, and hauled to the station. He didn't even know why, until detectives told him he was their prime suspect. The case against Micheal Harris was alarmingly thin from the very beginning. Police found no fingerprints matching Micheal at the crime scene. No DNA, no weapon linked to him. His alibi? He had just clocked out of work 15 minutes earlier, confirmed by his employer. But police argued that still gave him time to commit the crime. In less than 48 hours, Micheal was charged with murder and armed robbery. Key to the prosecution's case were 2 eyewitnesses, a man and a woman who claimed they saw Micheal running away. But their accounts contradicted each other. One claimed the shooter had short hair. Micheal had dreadlocks at the time. The other said the suspect was wearing white sneakers. Michael's shoes were black work boots. Despite this, detectives wrote in their report, "Positive identification made. Case closed." The reality? They had nothing but a vague description and Michael's presence near the crime scene. But in a city under pressure to curb violent crime rates, he was their perfect suspect. Micheal insisted on his innocence, but his pleas were ignored. He didn't even see a lawyer until his first court appearance, nearly a week later. Michael's trial began in early 2006. From the very start, it was clear the odds were stacked against him. His public defender was juggling over 100 active cases. He met Micheal only twice before trial. Meanwhile, the prosecution painted a damning picture: a young black man from a crime-heavy neighborhood, with no father figure and a suspicious attitude during questioning. The prosecution leaned heavily on the eyewitnesses. Neither had been cross-examined properly during pre-trial. Their inconsistent statements were never highlighted. And the jury? Predominantly white, with only 1 black juror. In a city notorious for racial bias in its courts, this was a bad sign from the start. Micheal took the stand in his own defense. He told the jury everything: his alibi, his innocence, his lack of connection to the crime. He cried when talking about his mother. He begged them to look at the evidence, or lack thereof. But none of it mattered. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Micheal Harris was sentenced to life in prison. No parole. No second chance. His mother collapsed in the courtroom. Micheal remembers the sound of the gavel echoing in his head as deputies dragged him away. Prison became Michael's reality. Days blurred together. Cold meals, loud cell blocks, and endless waiting. He read books, wrote letters to innocence organizations, and clung to the hope that one day someone would listen. His family visited when they could. His mother aged visibly, her health declining under the stress of seeing her son locked away. His sister brought her daughter, Michael's niece, who he watched grow up through glass partitions, unable to hold her. Years turned into more than a decade. 14 birthdays passed. 14 Christmases. His appeals were denied over and over, often dismissed without even hearing. Meanwhile, evidence of wrongful convictions across the country was mounting. DNA exonerations made headlines. But Michael's case had no DNA, no smoking gun to prove his innocence, only his word against the system. Then, in 2018, a second-year law student named Emily Rivera stumbled across Michael's case. While interning with a legal aid group, she reviewed his file. Buried deep in the discovery folder, nearly 200 pages in, was a forensic report. It mentioned a fingerprint lifted from the store's cash register that didn't match Michael. This report had never been shown to the jury. Emily dug deeper. That print was eventually matched, months after Michael's conviction, to a man named Derek Coleman, a known armed robber arrested for a nearly identical crime just blocks away. Why hadn't this been turned over? Because prosecutors claimed it was irrelevant. Coleman was never investigated for murder. Instead, Michael remained their scapegoat. Emily brought the case to the Innocence Project, who immediately took action. They filed motions, presented the fingerprint evidence, and uncovered even more troubling details. Prosecutors had withheld multiple pieces of exculpatory evidence, including surveillance footage showing a man matching Coleman's description near the store shortly before the crime. In late 2018, a judge granted Michael a new trial. For the first time in 14 years, he had hope. This time, the courtroom told a different story. Experts dismantled the eyewitness testimony. The fingerprint evidence was undeniable, and prosecutors faced tough questions about their conduct. In July 2019, after just 2 hours of deliberation, the jury returned, not guilty. Michael Harris was exonerated. The courtroom erupted in applause. His mother sobbed uncontrollably as Michael walked free, for the first time in nearly 15 years. Freedom was bittersweet. Michael was 43 years old, stepping into a world that had moved on without him. Smartphones, social media, everything felt foreign. He sued the city for wrongful conviction and eventually won a $10 million settlement. But no amount of money could give him back the years he lost. His mother passed away just a year after his release, never fully recovering from the trauma. Michael now speaks publicly about wrongful convictions. He visits law schools, advocating for reform. But every time he tells a story, he admits the same thing. He still wakes up some nights thinking he's back in that cell. Michael Harris's case is not unique. Studies suggest that over 5% of prisoners in the U.S. may be innocent. That's tens of thousands of people living Michael's nightmare right now. If not for one determined law student and a single overlooked fingerprint, Michael would still be behind bars today. How many more innocent men and women are out there, waiting for someone to notice the one detail that could save them? This is Dark Crime Chronicle. Subscribe for more real stories of injustice, redemption, and the fight for truth.